Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the NORA B Series here on iRacing. After 1 week off due to some technical difficulties caused by Mother Nature, we're back and bringing you the NORA B Series once again. And tonight we head to Iowa Speedway for the Iowa 213, presented by J Deadlift Broadcasting, and we're excited to bring you this one here tonight. So a little bit to catch everyone on up. If you've been following along with this series, this is a league in iRacing. We are about halfway through the season, racing the Xfinity cars, 85% long races, and also with that 85% of the fuel load that the cars will be able to carry. So that adds for a little bit of interesting dynamic in terms of racing. We will have stages 1, 2, and stage 3. If you're unfamiliar with what stages are, we're going to receive a caution flag at a certain lap in the race, and then everyone will be able to go down, get pit service, come back out with fresh tires, and be good to go and continue. So we're going to receive a couple of those, and we'll keep you abreast of how that all works out. Last race, your top three: Tucker, Ackerman, and Briscoe. 1, 2, 3 last race. Dalton Tucker picking up the win in that 24 machine. He's looked very strong really all season long, so expect to see the 24 up toward the front once again. And as an old Jeff Gordon fan, I can definitely appreciate seeing the 24 up at the front of the pack. Waiting to see everyone else join on in. Sean Briscoe is here as well. We have not seen Bruce Ackerman pop into the race just yet. Might be a little bit delayed getting out of the hauler and to the track. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. But as we get set to go here in qualifying from Iowa Speedway, a little bit about the track before we get rolling here in just about 5 minutes. This is a 7/8 mile long track, so it is going to be one of the shorter tracks in NASCAR. It's somewhere in between that short track and 1.5 mile ovals that a lot of these drivers really enjoy. IndyCar and NASCAR have argued about the length of the track extensively. IndyCar is just a little bit longer, somewhere closer to 0.8 of a mile long. NASCAR closer to that 7/8 range. In Newton, Iowa, where the weather should be perfect for tonight's race, I'll check that out here in a moment. So a little bit about the history of the track. It was patterned after Richmond, so you can definitely see the similarities between that speedway and here at Iowa. Greatly influenced by one of the NASCAR greats, Rusty Wallace. If you recognize that name, we're going to be friends here tonight. And Rusty Wallace, a great NASCAR driver and a real big short track guy, raced alongside of Dale Earnhardt Sr. at his time. Jeff Gordon just jumping onto the scene. A lot of those late 90s, early 2000s NASCAR drivers racing alongside that number 2 machine of Rusty Wallace. So great little story there. The pavement you see in front of you, it is an asphalt pavement. In the turns, we have 12 to 14 degrees of progressive banking. What that means is the further up the track you go, the more banking there is. The reason they do that is to get more different grooves of racing. You're able to carry more speed along the top, and on the bottom you can't carry as much speed, but it is a shorter way around the track. So we'll see a little bit different kind of plans of attack here tonight. We are on the Xfinity car here in the NORA B Series. So the Xfinity car generally will run tight. We'll see if that seems to play a factor, and if that's been indicative of what we've seen, the tight race car, we might see some high line riding. It'll be up to the drivers to figure out what line works best. 10 degrees banking on the front stretch and 4 on the back stretch. So the back stretch giving every driver a little bit of a break. But that 10 degrees on the front stretch, you might see a couple guys dive down as you're looking at the start-finish line right there. Just below it, that is legal. We don't have the double yellow line rule or the yellow line rule at all here, whereas at Daytona or Talladega, you might see drivers unable to dive below that double yellow, as that will be a penalty issued by the racing team. So quick update on the points as we get under 2 minutes left in qualifying. Corey Wharton is going to be first in your points. Todd Slauson in second. Mr. Thaxton rolls in third in points. Now we're waiting to see a couple of these drivers up in the top 5. Dalton Tucker is 5th in points. And Mr. James 4th in points. So a couple of these drivers, you might not see their names here tonight. So definitely going to be interesting how that shakes on out. If you're new to the NORA B Series and you're wondering why some of their names have R's, some have O's, and some don't, the drivers with the R's, they are running for points. So the R's and the nothing next to their name, those are the drivers running for driver points. Anyone with an O next to their name is running for owner's points, meaning they're basically a sub. They're not running for those drivers' points. So you'll have to check that on out as the race progresses. So those top 5 I just listed, top 5 in driver's points. So anyone with an O, not really a threat to that top 5. If you're in the chat, thank you here for joining us here tonight as we're going to get kicked on off here shortly. Hopefully going to bring you a good one. Brought to you by the NORA B Series. We already see some cheers for Dylan Parker, Colby Wells, and Drayton Cook and all of TI Racing. Happy to have them all along here with us, and we're going to see them take the green flag here momentarily. So with about 15 seconds left here, we're going to get set to rock and roll from Iowa Speedway. And we're going to run you through the grid. Brought to you by J Deadlift Broadcasting. So starting on the pole here tonight is going to be that 24 machine of Dalton Tucker, coming off a win at Michigan International Speedway last weekend. Looking to repeat here at Iowa Speedway and go back-to-back weeks of winning. That could be a good run in the season for him. Corey Wharton will be rolling off in second place. Starting in third is Trevor Apollo. Mike Bruno will roll off fourth. Dylan Parker in fifth. And Sean Briscoe will start sixth. Continuing on down your grid, Blade Timmons will start seventh. Todd Slauson, we call his name, second in points. He starts eighth. Colby Wells will roll off ninth. And Matthew George will take the green in 10th. Chad Engel will start 11th, and Craig Schroeder rolls off 12th. Drayton Cook will take the green in 13th position. Brian Neals, racing in the number 11 machine, will roll off 14th. 15th is going to be Ryan Kendrick, and 16th is going to be Brian Jones. Josh Conover, the league owner, will be rolling off 17th, and Martin Plute did not put down a qualifying lap in the 997. We'll see if he takes the green here tonight at Iowa. So good look at some of the paint schemes that you'll see here tonight. Pace car going to roll on off of pit road and take the front two. Down around this 7/8 mile track for one of presumably 2 pace laps. And then we'll bring the green flag to you as you get a good look at Dalton Tucker and Corey Wharton on that front row. The number 90 of Trevor Apollo in that Dollar General Toyota Supra right behind the leader. And a good-looking paint scheme for Sean Briscoe there. That Red Bull 36 Toyota Tundra. Awesome to see. As the pace car going to roll off pit road for the first time here tonight. And we're going to get set to go green. You see the field all coming off of pit lane for the first time tonight. Sun's starting to set here tonight, so we might get a little bit of darkness before this race is done and over with. Field going to line up 2 by 2 here. We're going to bring you all action for all 213 laps tonight. And we should have a good one on tap for you. Being the short track, we will take 2 pace laps around. If you're confused why that's happening, just the short track, back of the field might not be able to catch on up, so iRacing has us do 2 pace laps so the field can get entirely 2x2 before we go green. So getting ready to rock and roll from here at Iowa Speedway. A little bit of a smaller crowd here tonight. Around 16 drivers going to take the green flag here. Brian Jones back there in the number 10. You can see him on the outside last row. He's the number 16 car in line. And we're going to wait and see if he can charge up through the field. So like we said, usually a bit of a bigger field. After MIS last week, we definitely expected some action here at the short track, but we got 16 drivers. We've got 213 laps, and we're going to bring them to you right here. Pace car takes that hard left turn on the pit road, and here we go. Green flag in the air, and we are underway here at Iowa Speedway for the NORA B Series Iowa 213. Dalton Tucker takes the lead down into turn 1 for the first time here tonight. Looks like he gets a pretty good jump. Corey Wharton in the number 20, battling on that inside. And on that, Corey Wharton on the 20 on the outside. There's Trevor Apollo on the inside in that number $90 General Toyota Supra, making a good move here early. And it's going to be interesting as we go throughout this one. A little bit of short track racing mixed with that kind of typical 1.5 mile racing at this unique almost 1 mile oval here in Iowa. Corey Wharton in the number 20. He's going to go to that low side of Dylan Parker in the 74. Parker holds on to that outside. And it's like we talked about in the pre-race. Is the outside line going to be king? Or will we see someone really work that inside here late tonight? So number 19, you see that's Mike Bruno. He's going to be on your ticker as the 08 machine. So in case that confuses anybody at all, we'll try and get that cleared up multiple times throughout the broadcast here tonight. The 23 machine going to the low side of Corey Wharton, who's had a tough little start. Started outside row 1, and he's kind of started to drift back a little bit. You got to wonder, he might be saving his stuff. He might not be. But a good qualifying time. You know he's got the pace. Wharton's still on that outside groove. Blade Timmons to the inside in the 23 Rowdy Energy Toyota Supra. He slides up in front of the 20. Everyone scatters back behind. Mark Bruno to the inside. Mike Bruno to the inside. Bruno with a good move back to the inside in that number 19 Gerhard machine. He's going to get the door of Corey Wharton as well, as Wharton continues to drop toward the back of the pack. Wharton with a really rough start here. He started to kind of gravitate toward that middle groove as you see a bunch of drivers running the bottom groove. The 19 of Mike Bruno here. He's got the 36 of Sean Briscoe right behind him. Both drivers really running that bottom yellow line. It's going to be interesting to see. If we all go there. And the 19 a little bit loose. These first 2 stages going to be 53 laps apiece. So if we stay green, we'll get a caution at lap 53. We'll see if we stay green the entire time. Still a good battle right here between Wharton and Bruno. Bruno looks to have the upper hand heading off of turn 2. Off of turn 2, he's going to slide up in front of the 20 and pick up another position. Corey Wharton not wanting to give it up that easy. He dives to the low side in turns 3 and 4. They go door to door off of turn 4. Wharton is loose. He's going to slide to that inside. We'll see if he's able to save it. Keeps it on the grass. We are going to stay green here at Iowa. So Wharton, a tough break. We're going to get a quick look at what just happened. You saw him right up into that number 20 machine, or into that number 19 machine. Just gets a little bit of that door panel on him. Slides to that inside, able to save it, keep the car off the wall. The number 20 not having a good start. We saw him be very strong a couple races this season. Started second. He's now all the way back in 16th. But that is going to be the beauty of this stage type racing, that he will be able to get back collected with the field. He's still got a ways to go. Checking back in on your leader, Dalton Tucker here. Using that 24, starting to pull away once again. Trevor Apollo under attack from Dylan Parker. Parker in the number 74 machine. He's doing good work on that inside. And so far, so good for that inside groove. We haven't really seen anyone use that outside groove and really power through it. There's a 74 in the 90. Door-to-door in turns 3 and 4. Can't quite clear him. As a good run off by Trevor Apollo in that number 90. Going to keep him side by side for second. Heading back into turns 1 and 2. Looks like the 74 of Dylan Parker is going to clear and be back in that clean air. We'll talk about that a little bit later tonight, but definitely keep an eye on that. How drivers have air on their front end. Do they have clean air? Do they not? It's going to be very important to pay attention to that throughout the race here tonight. Riding along with Colby Wells here. Started 9th, moved up to 6th, and you can see him trying to reel in Mike Bruno in front of him in that number 19 machine. And you'll be able to hear it right here. Being in and out of the throttle, drivers probably using a good amount of brakes in turns 1 and 3 as well, to get the car slowed down. And on his inside there, Sean Briscoe in that 36 machine. Good move for Briscoe as he's really battling, trying to get the position away from Wells. Looks like he is going to slide in front of Wells for the time being, but Wells now back to the bottom. He doesn't want to give the spot up that easy either. Good run for Briscoe in that middle groove, and it looks like he's going to hold Wells down there. Great job by the 36, and we saw that high groove work for the first time here tonight. Definitely don't think that's going to be the last time we see that high groove work. Pay attention as these tires start to wear off, how exactly everything seems to work on out. And the 22, Todd Slauson, a good little move for number 2 in points. Todd Slauson, called his name a lot a couple weeks ago when we went to Mid-Ohio. And maybe not for the best reasons. He kind of had a little bit of a tricky day. Ended up having a good finish. And you look at him second in points, he's definitely had his fair share of good finishes. And good to see the 22 starting to pick his way through the pack here tonight. A lot of different drivers, a lot of different racing styles. And especially with these stage breaks, you can sometimes be able to take that first stage and see what line works. And then maybe you take 2 tires at the stage break. Maybe you get a caution here later in the stage. You can kind of experiment with a lot of things, and that is the beauty of stage racing, is stages 1 and 2 are definitely a feeling out stage. You see it right here. Drivers testing that bottom groove, testing that top groove. No one really riding the wall just yet. It'll be interesting to see if we do see that, as the top 2 really using that kind of 2.5 grooves up the racetrack. And they might move further up as these tires start to wear off. And the track also going to cool down throughout the night. So keep that in mind as well, as these tires will get more and more grip. And right back here, the number 45 and the 28 doing battle here. That's Colby Wells and Matthew George. Mix it on up in turns 3 and 4. George, a good run in that middle groove. And you see the runoff that these higher grooves are having. And we talked about that at the top of the broadcast, this progressive banking, allowing you to run a little bit quicker through the corners as that banking gets higher and higher in that second and third groove. Really just gives you good run off, and you get a good look at it right there that the 28 on turn in can get almost door to door with Colby Wells, but then Wells can get a very good run off and keeps 28 at bay. Matthew George still mixing on up here, and you know who loves to see that is the drivers behind him. As these cars continue to battle, that's going to make the 00 of Ryan Kendrick continue to close the gap as he drives along here. Let's ride along with Kendrick for a lap. You see Wells continuing to hold off the 28 of George, doing a very good job here early. And it's like we said earlier, you kind of get to see what lines are working, what other guys are driving like. And these top 5 pretty much single file it on out here, and you see really the biggest battle going on. That battle between Colby Wells that we were watching. As that 00 looks low on the 28. Tries to make it stick. Doesn't look like that car is going to stick. Matthew George in the 28. A little big run here as he's going to get a little bit in front of Colby Wells. We'll see if the 28 goes for the slide job. Doesn't look like it just yet. And here he comes. Slides up that back straightaway. He is going to get the front fender of Colby Wells back behind him. Good pass for the 28 as he continues to run around here at Iowa Speedway. Good little move right there by the 28 of Matthew George. And let's go back up to the front and check out your leader, Dalton Tucker. He's in that 24 machine. Looked very dominant, really race in and race out. And great to see him back up at the front here tonight. Not your highest I rating in the field, but he's definitely up there for one of the best. Dylan Parker trying to chase him down in second. Dylan Parker started 5th and quickly moved up to 2nd. As you get a good look at the 74 right here. Sponsored by Asheville Rooftop Bar Tours. You see that on the side quarter panel of the car there. As you hear the tires ever so slightly slipping there for Parker, but a cool, calm, and collected emotion on his face right there. He's up to 2nd, and you can watch that gap between the leader and him at the top of your screen. Top 3 listed on top of the ticker, and then the rest of the field going to fly on by from right to left. Let's roll through your top 5 as they run, brought to you by J Deadlift Broadcasting. Dalton Tucker, we just mentioned him. He's up there in the lead in that 24 machine. Dylan Parker in the 74. He is in 2nd. Trevor Apollo had a pretty good start in the Dollar General Toyota Supra. He's drifted back a little bit, but still hanging in there. And like we said, able to make some kind of adjustments here throughout this race. So look for the number 90 to mix it on up later in this one. Blade Timmons in the 23. He's currently scored 4th. He's had a pretty good start, stayed out of trouble, and right behind him, rounding out your top 5, Mike Bruno in the number 19. Once again, he is scored on our ticker as the 08 machine, but just be aware that the 08 is the 19. So, in case that confuses you, we'll remind you throughout the broadcast here tonight. And so far, so good, Mike Bruno and that 08 or 19 crew. From high up above, and you can see the gap right here between 1st and 2nd. Starting to close a little bit. Dylan Parker now closing into 7/10 and looking for more. So definitely be on the lookout for the 74 as this first stage comes to an end, and definitely as the 2nd and 3rd stage start to take their place. So a quick reminder that this first stage, 53 laps, so we're starting to close in on the end of stage number 1. So definitely be aware for that as Dylan Parker continues to close. Further back in your field, Todd Slauson snuck by the 28 of Matthew George, who drops to 8th position now. Good little move for Slauson. Like we mentioned, he'll start to pick his way up through the field as these runs go on. And this will give you a good indication of long run versus short run type cars. That's something very cool to see that we don't get in a lot of races. With this being a lengthier race and these stage breaks, we've come to see a lot of green flag racing here in the NORA B Series. And very cool to see. Especially, and you can see everyone really mixing on up. Right in front, Blade Timmons and Trevor Apollo now starting to mix on up. And Blade Timmons jumps to that 3rd spot. He sneaks by the 90 Trevor Apollo. So a couple passes going on here late in stage number 1. Drivers trying to jockey for those stage positions. All important in terms of playoff points. As we head toward the end of the regular season. There's the 08 of Mark Bruno running that very bottom line. Good move by the number 19. He's all over the 90s bumper. And Sean Briscoe, he's holding on back there in 6th, but he might want a piece of this as well. So the 08 or the number 19 of Mike Bruno sneaks to that inside. And he's really making that bottom groove work here late in this stage. And from what we've been told, about 70 laps on a fuel run. So this is just above halfway of what the drivers would be able to do, especially once we come to stage number 3. Definitely pay attention to how the cars are handling right now. We're able to see Bruno really make the bottom work. Not a lot of the other drivers wanting to go to the bottom, but as soon as we say that, Blade Timmons jumps to that low line. So we'll see things change. Taking a look on back, Colby Wells, Drayton Cook, Brian Jones all mixed it on up here. And the 00 Ryan Kendrick. Those 4 cars all locked in. Battle here for 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. And that's what is so great about these stages, that we're going to get these battles throughout. And here we go. Drivers looking to go 3 wide. Colby Wells, Brian Jones, and Drayton Cook all wanting a little battle here with 13 laps to go in the stage. Brian Jones, we mentioned him starting in last place back there in 16th. He's now made his way up on a little bit. In that number 10 Viagra Chevy Camaro. And we saw him be a good long run car. And what that means is a lot of these drivers you might see very good in the short run. And then as soon as their tires start to burn off that little bit of grip, they're unable to keep that speed. Brian Jones in the number 10, definitely not one of those, able to save his tires and have a little bit more grip when other drivers might not. And you'll see that payoff in speed late in these runs. The gap between first and second now opened up to almost a second and a half. So Dylan Parker might be just kind of calling it quits. And right behind them, a big battle for third here is the 19 and the 23. Really mixing on up here in turns 1 and 2. Bruno to the low side. And he's got Timmons on the outside. Timmons really running 3 grooves up. So interesting to see the 23 be really the first car to ride that high line here tonight. Not going to work just yet, but here comes the outside-inside move by the 23. Timmons right back to the low side. 19 going to be all over his door in turns 1 and 2. Not giving him an inch. 23 wants to drift up the track, but can't quite do it yet. Good move by the 19 to pin him on down there as they go back into turns 3 and 4. Great battle going on here, and the 36 going to poke his nose in there. That's Sean Briscoe thinking about going low and sitting at 3 wide. Thinks better of it. Backs on out, and what a battle here at the end of stage number 1. Continuing to go 2 by 2. 19 and the 23 still mixing it on up. 23 on that low side, but the 19 giving him no room to move. And down to the bottom, into the grass. The 23 in trouble. Let's take another look at what just happened. Little bit of contact right there between the 19 and the 23. They were racing so close for so long. Something was bound to happen, and it might have been a little bit of net code. Might have been cars just getting too close. And the 19 able to hang on. He's still in 5th. The 23 after that drops back to 7th. And a little bit of a mix-up here late in the stage. Drivers running hard together. And you saw it just too close for comfort. Cars get into each other just a little bit. And Dylan Parker and Dalton Tucker continuing to pull away 1-2 as you see that gap between first and second, 1.8 seconds. But first to third, 6.1. So really a two-car battle so far in stage number 1. The big battle going on here as we have Sean Briscoe leading a pack of him, Trevor Apollo, Mike Bruno, Matthew George, and Blade Timmons. Ryan Kendrick also dropping on back. As we talked about short run versus long run. Not very good in the long run here in stage number 1. Colby Wells in the 45. You're looking at him right there. Dropped all the way back to 12th. You saw that group of 3 in front of him all sneak on by over the course of this first stage. Couple laps away from our first stage break of the night. Our first caution of the night. We've stayed green for all the first 49 laps. Seen a couple spins, a couple car contacts, but nothing to throw the yellow. Yellows are controlled by iRacing here tonight. We do also have race control as well in case we get any kind of other type issues. And the 28, Matthew George, to the bottom of the 19 of Mike Bruno. George tries to take it away from Bruno, but Bruno closes a door. Sticks his butt right in the middle of those first 2 grooves and parks the car there. Nowhere to go for George, and he has to fall in line. And he's now got Blade Timmons all over his rear bumper. Timmons looked very quick, and you get a good look right there of that very clean, very white Toyota Supra. Now up to the top side, and we're really seeing Timmons start to love that top side, and we'll see if that's just a late run thing or if we see him change it on up a little bit here. And up toward the lead, don't quite know what happened, but the 24 and the 74 now locked up as they come to the end of this stage. Tries to put another car a lap down, and Dalton Tucker gonna survive here and win the first stage, but not by much, as Dylan Parker had made his way up to the front. And let's take another look and see if anything happened to the 24 that caused that dramatic slowdown. As it looks like he kind of just pulled on over, gave some time, and wanted to make it an interesting fight at the end. And you got to love that. Dalton Tucker, very strong in stage number 1. And Dylan Parker definitely challenging the 24. That's going to be a battle to keep an eye on throughout the rest of this one. So our first stage break of the night, and everyone gonna head down pit road here to get collected by the pace car as we get you a good look at all the cars heading onto pit lane. Long pit lane here at Iowa. You see the top 2 nose to tail as they head onto pit road. So actually getting word that Tucker thought the stage ended on 50. He slowed to give someone their lap back. And that is too funny, as you saw that turn into quite the battle there at the end. So either way, it ends up working out well for the TV crew here at the J Deadlift Broadcasting. And we expect to see all the cars take 4 tires and fuel here. I don't know that we'll see anyone do anything different. Good run off of the 24. Looks like he's going to win the race off of pit road. 3 cars wide back behind him. And a great race off of pit road in the middle of the pack there. But Dalton Tucker going to still hold on to your lead. And you saw just a giant gaggle of cars on pit road there. The 19, the 28, the 23 all mixing on up. Coming off this pit road under caution number 1. So under caution for the first time here tonight. Our first stage break of the night. And a good little end to that stage as Dalton Tucker had to run for his money from Dylan Parker. And you get a good look at Parker's car right there. As we continue on through your field of these NASCAR Xfinity cars. See a couple guys with the NORA banner on their windshield. Always great to see. We start with 16 cars. 16 cars still running. So after stage 1, no cautions. And no real incidents to speak of. But a lot of good racing. And that's what we'd like to see here at the NORA B Series. Quick summary of what we saw in the first one. 56 laps completed, 157 to go. 0 lead changes, so quite a bit of amount of passing. But none were for the lead, and we still had 0 lead changes. It's Dalton Tucker who took that green flag on the pole, led every single one of those 56 laps. You can also see that at top of your screen, a little laps led counter right under Dalton Tucker's name there at the top. Leader will get the selection of outside or inside row, so we'll see if he does stick with the outside here or if Tucker decides to jump back to that inside for this restart. Quick look at the weather before we get going again. Overhead, it's a clear, beautiful night here in Newton, Iowa. Air temperature 80 degrees and the track temp a brisk 82. So not very hot in terms of track temp. So definitely pay attention to that. And it will cool off. You see the sun setting here behind us at Iowa Speedway. I would expect that temperature to go down. Good look at the sky here. That is a great shot right there by our TV crew. Great job by them. Get you a good look at this whole field. As we get set to go green once again. Thanks to everyone joining us in the chat. Hopefully you guys have been loving everything you've seen so far. Green flag back in the air. And Dalton Tucker takes control of this race once again. Tucker dives it down in turn 1, and we'll see on these fresh tires if we see a little more battling, any more craziness. Is up there Trevor Apollo to that quarter panel of 36 of Sean Briscoe. So they go 2x2. And further on back, we also have a 2-wide battle between the 23 and the 28. That's Timmons and George. And behind them, the 10 and the 22 side by side. A lot of side by side racing at the start of this stage. The number 20 gets loose. You saw him right there. Corey Wharton in the middle right of your screen. That is the points leader. Corey Wharton in the number 20. Pay attention to that. We saw him get in the wall a little bit earlier. That car is definitely banged up and not 100%. So pay attention to the number 20 as this race goes on. On the short run, he might be okay. It's that long run that we're going to have to pay attention to, especially with how green that first stage went. So leaders still doing their best, and we'd be a myth to talk about the 36, or to not talk about the 36 of Sean Briscoe. Did a very good job in stage one, keeping up with that lead pack in the second half, and now you're seeing him really keep on up with these leaders. So it'll be good to see Briscoe here in the later run. Back behind them, an angry swarm of cars led by the 00 of Ryan Kendrick and the 23 of Blade Timmons. So they go side by side in turns 3 and 4. Colby Wells in the 45. That's that blank number car you see. He's looking to mix it up as well. 23 of Timmons up into the wall. He's going to be able to survive that one. But the 00 of Kendrick looks to get a good run off. And you're starting to see it right here, that outside groove versus that inside groove. The 23 able to make such a good run off the corner. The 00 can't quite complete the pass. That 00 of Ryan Kendrick still trying to hold on as they head down the back straightaway. These cars locked in a dead heat throughout these laps. And you start to wonder how much of their tires are they using. The 45 of Wells with a big run right there. 22 of Slauson in that black and yellow machine on the outside, that Toyota Supra. Pay attention to that as well. 00 with a big run off. Kendrick trying to make the pass. Let's see if he can do it down the back straightaway. Still on the inside, still looking to make a move, but the 23, such a good run off of turn 2. And is it time for Kendrick in turns 3 and 4? Heading toward the start-finish line, and that run off the corner by Timmons, just unstoppable so far as he continues to keep the 00 back behind him. But the 22 of Slauson really starting to work in Colby Wells. Riding along with the 00 now, as we're actually going to look back at Colby Wells. He's got the 00 in front of him. He's got Todd Slauson on his outside, and just a parking lot of cars right now. These four drivers pretty much locked in a dead heat back through turns 1 and 2. Colby Wells driving it in very deep compared to these drivers, and that's going to be something to pay attention to. When you drive it like that, that right front tire going to get very hot very quickly, and the hotter that tire gets, the less grip it is going to retain. So you might watch that 45's lap time start to drop as these laps go on. So he heads to the back bumper, the 22. The 22 and the 23 both running that higher groove. Colby Wells somewhere in the middle, and that 00 of Kendrick riding all the way at the bottom. Get a good look at it right here from Ryan Kendrick's perspective. You can see that unmarked car of Colby Wells in the 45 back behind him as they cross the start-finish line for lap 71 out of 213. Colby Wells starting to try the bottom there. You saw him dive down there and really think about it. Back toward the front straightaway. 45 Wells really using every single groove he has. For now, the 23 holding on. The 00 in trouble now as the 22 is Slauson also looking to his outside. Let's flash you back up to your leader, Dalton Tucker. He's got Dylan Parker right behind him. As these two continue to pull away, Sean Briscoe holding on by the skin of his teeth back there in third. Trevor Apollo back in fourth. And Mike Bruno still holding on in that fifth spot. Matthew George in a very close sixth. And then we get back to this group of cars. 7th through 11th, 12th through 11th, and 12th. All mixing on up, and you're looking at the number 20 of Corey Wharton here. Started on the outside pole, is your points leader. Definitely do not count the 20 out before this race is done. He might be saving his stuff out there in the back. And you see that battle going on through the front windshield of the number 20 machine. Starts to look like it's single files on out, and then they head through the corners. A couple drivers picking different lines, and you see that front fender a little banged up on the number 20 machine, affecting that aero ever so much. And we talk about aero being very important on those 1.5-mile type tracks, where the faster you can cut through the air, the better it is. On short tracks, maybe not so much, but Iowa Speedway, not quite your typical short track. Whereas you might have a half-mile track like Bristol. Not quite a half-mile, it is closer to a mile. So you do get those big long runs down the straightaways that you're able to see here. And that aero is so slightly important. .22 now looking to make a move. Slauson looking low on Timmons. Timmons has been quietly solid all night long. Not able to hang with that kind of front five, but he's definitely not blinking an eye on the 23. And you also will see a little bit of that. Drivers getting a little bit more squirrely in and out of traffic, and so far so good for a lot of these guys. Is you really see it right there. All these cars bunched on up. Some guys all the way to the rear quarter panel of others, especially the 45 of Colby Wells with a big run on that outside. Big run as he's trying to make that outside groove work now. We'll see if he can here. And like we mentioned, that is what these stages do provide, that opportunity to try something different. So Colby Wells running the bottom in that first stage, maybe moves to the top in the second stage. And then you know what works for stage number 3, that long stage, all the way to the quarter panel, the 00 of Ryan Kendrick. Almost touches that back bumper. The Toyota Supra ends up laying off. And everyone ends up safe after that one. You get a good look from overhead from our aerial coverage of just how tight this racing is right here. All these drivers. Lap time so similar. 1/10 of a second separating these drivers. And 00 gets stuck in that low side. That's Kendrick. And we see drivers kind of getting hung out to dry in that low side. The 22 tries to get the quarter panel on the 23. Can't do it just yet. So head back into turns 3 and 4. Great look from up above at the runs that these cars get on and off the corner. Some drivers quicker into the corner, some drivers quicker in the middle, some drivers quicker off. And if you're one of these drivers, you and especially your crew chief or spotter needs to be paying attention to this, knowing where you're gaining and losing time. As the 22 in trouble. Thought the 00 was going to get his quarter panel. He does not. And 22 loses a little bit gap on that 23. But it's like we talked about, you can see where you're gaining and losing time. That's so important to these drivers throughout this race here at Iowa. And number 10, a little bit of trouble right there for Brian Jones, as he's going to drop on back. Back up to your leader, Dalton Tucker in the number 24. Led 84, now 85 of 85 laps. So it has been a dominating race for the 24 machine. And the 74 looking to change the narrative if he can here tonight. Iowa, such a tricky track to tame. So far, Dalton Tucker proving he has done it. We'll see if Dylan Parker can kind of challenge that. Maybe Sean Briscoe can jump up there as well. But do not forget, if we keep running like we are currently running, we will get green flag pit stops here in stage number 3. So be on the lookout for that as well. Like we mentioned, the fuel run somewhere between 70 to 75 laps. And that final stage is 106 laps long. It's definitely no small task for a lot of these drivers. We flash you back to this battle that's been raging on for laps and laps. Blade Timmons still holding on to that top spot. He is in 7th with everyone back behind him. Ryan Kendrick in the 00, Todd Slauson in the 22, Colby Wells in the 45, and Drayton Cook, haven't called his name a lot here tonight. 89 now puts his nose in there, looking to gain some ground as well. And don't count out the number 20 of Corey Wharton. Had a tough time. He slapped the wall early in the race. He's battling on back with a little bit of help from the draft of these cars in front of him. We talked about that a tad earlier. Dirty air versus clean air, and what that means if you're not familiar with the terms is clean air is what Dalton Tucker is seeing in front of him, as there's no cars in front of him to kind of cut through that air and disturb the air and create what would be in an airplane turbulence. Dylan Parker is experiencing that right now as the 24 cuts through the air, it disturbs it. And then the 74 has to run through that quote-unquote dirty air, that disturbed air. And then the air doesn't go over the car as neatly as it should. And it makes you a little bit slower, so you might be able to catch the car in front of you, but then the challenge comes passing that car. And speaking of passing, the 22 looking to sneak by the 23. Not going to quite do it. So continue to run here at Iowa. A little bit more for you about that dirty versus clean air. If you get close enough, like you're seeing the 22 and the 23 do, you'll enter what's called a draft, and there's kind of an air pocket that forms behind each of these cars. And if you can get in it, collectively your two cars will go faster, as now that trail car does not have to cut through the air like it would out on its own, allowing that trail car to go faster, push that front car, and you know how that works. Todd Slauson doing his best to keep up with the 23 of Blade Timmons. Not going to do it just yet. Colby Wells is now migrated to the top. And right behind him, a 3-wide battle between Drayton Cook, Brian Jones, and Corey Wharton, all mixing up back behind. Corey Wharton washes up the track a little bit, and you got to wonder how the 20 car is performing after that incident early in stage 1. Looks like it's a little bit tight, so it's going to be interesting to note how he performs, and you got to be very careful if you're that number 10 car working around the number 20. You know, in some spots he's faster, but keeping him back there is of utmost importance. Chad Engel, he's in the 29. We haven't called his name really at all tonight. He's rolling around here in 14th. Trying to hold on. Right behind him, Craig Schroeder in the number 4 machine, and you get a good look at that Fanatec Toyota Supra. And 15th, the final car on track right now. Brian Niels in the number 11 has pulled it behind the wall and looks like he is going to call it a night. That's the number 11 of Brian Niels back behind the wall. Back to your leader in your top 5 here. Dalton Tucker holding on to the lead. He continues to make great pace. Last lap at 25.9. Dylan Parker right behind him. Last lap 26.0. So barely 1/10 of a second separating those two drivers. So they continue to nearly lap the field here. No one a lap down just yet. And in stage 3, it will definitely be interesting how these guys deal with lap traffic out in front of them. And that very well could decide the race. Your top 5 all single file here as they head down the back straightaway. Matthew George riding along on his lonesome in the 28. And then you get another look down the back straightaway. Now broken up into kind of 2 groupings. Timmons, Slauson, Kendrick, Group 1. Group 2, Wells, Cook, Jones. We'll stick with this battle right here, the 22. Once again, late in that run, moving to that bottom groove. And this is not the first time we've seen that tonight. Todd Slauson, as that run goes on, he starts in that middle of the high groove. And then as the race goes on, starts to move down to that bottom. Like you're seeing Ryan Kendrick and then 00 back behind him do. And Kendrick now looking for a spot if he can take it all the way to that yellow line across the bottom of the racetrack. Drifts up the track, has to give a little bit of room to the 22. And you saw how good of a run the 00 had off the corner. Not able to carry it all the way up the banking, however. And that's so important. And you've seen that here tonight by a lot of these drivers, able to carry a bunch of speed off the bottom. But because that car is on that top side next to them, you can't go out to the wall and drift and carry that huge amount of speed you have. And then that outside line just gets that better run because they're able to stay on that top side and use that progressive banking. Closing in on our second stage break of the night. So far, all green flag racing. So far, all Dalton Tucker, as he has led 100 of the 101 laps here tonight. A great race so far for Tucker. We'll see if anything changes before this one ends. As we approach the end of stage number 2. Dylan Parker doing everything he can to kind of pick up the pace a little bit. Try and find a little bit of speed when he doesn't have it. Lap time slowing on down even more. And last lap, Sean Briscoe in that 36 machine. Actually faster than Dylan Parker up there in second. So we'll see if the 36 can kind of close the gap as well. And don't forget about Trevor Apollo, who was 1/10 of a second faster than the leader your last lap. Number 90 definitely has a little bit of pace here as we'll ride along with him here. And Dalton Tucker, the winner of stage number 1, after slowing down on lap 50 to let a lapped car by, still holds on to battle off Dalton Tucker at the end. Holds on. It looks like he is going to win stage number 2 as well. And what a great, great race so far for the number 24 team. So caution out for the stage break, and Dalton Tucker winning stage number 2. And so far he's swept the stages. We'll see if he can sweep the race. 24 looking like the car to beat here at Iowa. So all the cars going to get picked up by that Ford Mustang pace car. We're going to head down pit lane for service, where we imagine everyone going to get 4 Goodyear Eagles and a fresh tank of Sunoco race fuel. So you get a good listen right there of all those pushrod V8s throttling down a second and first gear. It's like caution waves for the second time tonight. You'll see all the cars head toward the end of pit lane. iRacing does not render the pit crews, so each individual driver will see their pit crew jump over the pit wall and start working on the cars. We'll only see those jacks go up, as you can see on the 24 right there. That was right side tires, and the jack will go up on the left side now. See the car go up on that left side. They're going to drop it. 74 almost gets him off of pit road, and then it's a battle back behind. This looks like Rapallo hangs on against Mike Bruno. Great job on and off of pit road by those guys. So I'd like to thank you again for tuning in to the broadcast of the Iowa 213, presented by J Deadlift Broadcasting. And so far, so good for a bunch of these teams. If you have any predictions, leave them down in the chat, and we'll be sure to see who you think's going to pull this one out. Is it going to be Dalton Tucker, or are we going to see someone else jump into the fray late in Stage 3? So Stage 3, always an interesting one. We've seen green flag pit stops be almost the norm here in the NORA B Series. So I wouldn't be shocked if we see another long green flag run, complemented by green flag pit stops. And we mentioned the pit window, 70 to 75 laps. So these drivers will not be able to make the entire 106 lap stage, but they will be very, very close. And we'll see if drivers take tires, or if they take a splash and go, or if we even get to that point. All things up in the air here at Iowa Speedway. You get a good listen to it right here. Trevor Apollo in the number 90, saving fuel already. He's trying to make it to the end of the number 90. As you can hear the engine clutching in and clutching out. And that does save fuel. It's the engine not having to work while you're clutched in. So be on the lookout for that as this race continues. Great looking helmet right there on Colby Wells. Pay attention to him as this race goes on. So we click you through the entire field before we get set to go back green. So 15 cars still running. The final one, Corey Wharton, who you see getting onto the track right now. Field getting taken to the green flag by our Ford Mustang pace car. We're going to get set to go green once again here at Iowa Speedway. Blimp up ahead, giving us a good look at this restart. 24 selects the inside this time. Selected the outside last restart. Green flag back in the air. And we are back under green here at Iowa Speedway. Stage 3 underway. The 24 has led every single lap here tonight. We'll see if that changes or if the 24 continues to dominate. And as we say that, Dylan Parker looking to lead the first lap for someone else here tonight. 24 with a huge run off the corner. Looks like Tucker going to stay in control of this one. And you can see that run off the corner. So important. And right back there, Trevor Apollo mixing up with Sean Briscoe, the number 90 and the 36 there. Door to door down the back straightaway. It's really been the tale of two lines, as you see that inside line able to enter the corner quicker, but that outside groove really good run off. You saw right there the 36 of Sean Briscoe. Great run off the corner, and you're able to just kind of hold that position. It's really been working for a lot of these drivers here tonight. Down the back straightaway, a lot of these NASCAR Xfinity cars single file. We'll see if that stays the same or if we see some people start to mix it up. Because I thought we saw Mike Bruno in that number 19 machine down to the low side. Looks like he's trying to make that low line work. The number 20, Corey Wharton, just sending it in right there on the 89 of Drayton Cook. Looks like the number 20 team did a good job of fixing that front end up as best as they can. The number 20 carrying a lot of speed through the bottoms of those corners. It's been a battle that we've watched all stage long. The 22, the 23, and the 00. We watched that play out all last stage. Looks like that is going to continue here tonight. So we're going to take you on board with the 45 of Colby Wells, who's watching this battle unfold in front of him. And as soon as we switch over, we get a calm of the storm, so to speak. And you're starting to see the different lines separate themselves a little bit. And you got to wonder, you see the leaders running that middle of the high groove. Why some of these drivers continue to stick to that bottom? Might be comfortable for them. Might be where they think they're fastest. It might be where they actually are fastest. A lot of these things all up in the air as this race goes on. But Kendrick to low side. He's looking for the spot on Timmons. Kendrick makes a move to the low side. They'll be door-to-door entering turn 3. And we'll see this run off. Are we going to see the 00 be able to push all the way up that track? And once again, we see that high groove prove dominant in these back cars. The 00 of Kendrick almost seemingly okay with running his line, that bottom groove all the way around the track. Doesn't seem faster than the 23, and if we look at lap times, Blade Timmons actually is 10th quicker than the 00 was. So trying to find 1/10 of speed, just hop in front of that 23 and then slide up the racetrack. We still have side-by-side action. Back toward your front of your field. Dalton Tucker might have led 121, now 122, but Dylan Parker trying to make that change. The 74 all over his rear bumper. Dalton Tucker still holding on, but to the back bumper goes the 74 of Dylan Parker. In that Asheville Rooftop Bar Tours Chevy Camaro. Trying to make it work. Now the leaders have jumped to that low side. Going to be interesting to see if we see this continue. Almost 100 laps left, so still a long ways to go. Actually, 90 laps to go. As I continue to circle around Iowa Speedway. So we mentioned 70 laps. That kind of lap timer, so to speak. And we've also seen a very wide range of different pit strategies in this league. We mentioned it being an 85% of the Xfinity race length, but also 85% of the Xfinity fuel load. So one required pit stop in stage 3, nearly required. Some drivers might be able to take very little fuel. Other drivers might have to take a little more. And all of that adds or subtracts time on pit road, which becomes so valuable should we continue to stay green here at Iowa. Tucker had let Parker close it to almost 1/10 of a second. Now Tucker opens it back up to 4/10, possibly even a little bit more. Sean Briscoe still doing a very good job back there in third. Number 36 machine, been in third place really for as long as we can remember at this point. Kind of survived that opening madness and able to keep rolling around in third place. Trevor Apollo right behind him. We've seen flashes from the number 90, and with a race like this, you also might want to be thinking about tire conservation. That might be what the number 90 is doing. Right behind him, you see that mess of cars. With Blade Timmons, Ryan Kendrick, Todd Slauson, Mike Bruno now, and Colby Wells rounding out this. And don't forget about the number 20 of Corey Wharton. We talked about him slapping the wall and messing a little bit of that arrow up. But he's now up to 10th, and he's got this big group in front of him in his sights. Todd Slauson, that low side. Mike Bruno with a big run off of that bottom groove. Bruno thought about it once, thought about it twice, and thinks better of it. Kind of stays in line in the back straightaway, but such a good run on that bottom groove. Look at the 19 of Mike Bruno here. Bruno proving to be the bottom line dominance here. He's going to slide up in the line. Good move to get by Slauson in the 22. Now he's going after Kendrick in the 00. Bruno has found the spot that makes it work. And the number 19 car so good on the bottom through these middle of the stage laps. That gap between first and second now 1.3 seconds. Tucker continues to open it on up, and a good move right there by the 19. Gonna slide up in front of the 00. He gets the position, and he wants more. He's looking at the 23 now. Mike Bruno's lap times just a smidge off of what the leaders are, but he's definitely got the speed to sneak by the 23. Let's see if he can do it in these next couple laps. 22 now going to join the party. Slauson sneaks by the 00, and he's looking to get his spot back from the 19 here as they head down the back straightaway. Down the back straightaway, 22 drifts up the track. And the 00 all the way to that bottom, trying to follow the line of the 19. Can't quite do it. Everyone going to single file on out. We check back here. Colby Wells under attack from Brian Jones. 28 of Matthew George on the inside of Colby Wells all the way to that quarter panel. Not going to make it work just yet. So head down the back straightaway to 28 with a slight advantage on that 45. Talk about that low versus that high groove. Another good camera angle to get a look at the difference in runs here. The 28 able to make that move work. 45 tried to do the crossover. Can't quite do it. Matthew George going to get in at number 10th position. Up in front of him, someone we should talk about again, the number 20 of Corey Wharton. Started on the outside front row. He is your points leader as well. Had a little bit of trouble with that outside retaining wall. And after a little bit of damage, being fixed on pit road, my apologies. The number 20 now in a pretty good spot. Up to 9th, and if he can get on and off of pit road well, he's got a good shot here. Up in front, the number 19 of Mike Bruno. Still mixing on up here. With the 23 of Blade Timmons. Timmons looked very strong in terms of the front of this pack. Timmons currently in 5th. He hasn't challenged Rapallo or Briscoe at all this race. He's definitely looked in control of the car, using that high groove to its advantage. And in this last run, where we're going to see the tires really push to their limits, I'm going to be curious to see if a driver like the 19 of Mike Bruno is able to have that right front stay put or not. iRacing does model tire wear, tire convention. And one thing that iRacing has recently added in the past couple months is the addition of flat tires. So should the 19 or any of these drivers heat up that right front, for example, to a very extreme temperature, not only will it lose grip more quickly than it would if it were a cooler tire, but the possibility of blowing the tire is there. As the tire gets too hot and it will seemingly rub away. But with it being a night, I'd be surprised if we see any kind of tire malfunctions. But definitely a possibility with how deep the 19 is driving it on in lap after lap. Riding along here with Todd Slauson in the 22 machine, as he's going to watch this battle unfold in front of him. And you see how they can just kind of dive down in the corner. And 19 going to sneak up in front, the 23 up into the wall. That's the first time we've seen the 23 really be bothered by traffic. And now the 22 of Slauson looking to take a position away as well. Both going to sneak by Blade Timmons after a mistake. Put the 23 up into the wall. And now the 23 going to be passed by the 00 of Ryan Kendrick as well. So Timmons was just up there in 5th. Now dropping all the way back to 8th in that number 23 machine, as the 3 cars up in front have passed him. But he's not giving up just yet. Getting a little bit of speed back in the car. We talked a little bit about that aero versus not, And look at this. It's a short pit by Dylan Parker. The 74 heading to pit road here early. We talked about that fuel run being about 70 laps. And if you look at the lap counter right here, he's about 65, maybe 70 laps out. Dylan Parker going for it all here. He's going to try and pit now, take fuel, and run it until he can't run it no more. Going to be an interesting strategy here for the 74. Should be taking fuel and going. We'll keep you apprised of when he comes back off of pit road. Now 1 lap down here. He might be taking tires as well. As a 14.1 second stop. He's going to take 4 tires and fuel. Curious to see if other drivers do the same, or if we've seen a completely different strategy out of that number 74 machine. So number 74 concedes second place. And Trevor Apollo also on pit road. So 2 drivers trying to cut this stage in about a third, really. As the final stage, 106 laps. They're pitting with just around 63, 64 laps to go. So 74 also on pit road. 36 now to pit road. Bunch of these drivers doing the pit early mechanic. And with the way Dalton Tucker's been dominating, they're going to need a miracle to do this one. And this is their Hail Mary. This is the move that they want to work. 36 going to go a lap down as he heads to pit road. The number 10 also heads to pit road as well. 24 continuing to lap the field as they head down pit road. Rest of the field staying out. We're going to leave 9 drivers. As Corey Wharton also heads to pit lane, he will go a lap down as well. That's going to leave 8 drivers on the lead lap. Dalton Tucker flies on by in the 24 right there. All these drivers trying to make it to the end on fuel. All the drivers that have pitted, 4 tires and fuel. Not what we expected to see here tonight. So definitely interested to see if the 24 will follow suit and also take 4 tires, or if we see someone else do something a little bit different. So this is the gamble. You put new tires on, you're able to push it very hard the next couple laps, and you're looking at the 74 of Dylan Parker right here. Going to go up and battle the 22. That is not for position. The 22 is on the lead lap. Dylan Parker in the 74 is not. But Dylan Parker on those fresher tires. You can see him just flying by. The number 19 heads to pit lane as well. That's Mike Bruno in the number 19. He's going to go down for service on pit road. Looks like Ryan Kendrick in the 00. Might have some internet connection there. We'll keep you up to speed with what's going on there. And here comes the 24 of Dalton Tucker. It was only a matter of time until the leader came to pit road. It looks like now is the time. About 50 laps into this run. Stage 3 started on lap 106. And it goes for 106 laps. So your leader now, Todd Slauson in the 22. How long will he be out there on the track and continue to lap the field? Dylan Parker out there trying to get his lap back. Dalton Tucker on pit lane. Chad Engel has not pitted. He's in the 29. He's looking to hold on as long as he can out there on track. And the 28, Matthew George also coming in. That's also going to leave 3 cars who've not pitted. That's Chad Engel in the 29, Ryan Kendrick in the 00, and your new leader, Blade Timmons, in the 23. 22 is Slauson on pit road. We just talked about him inheriting the lead. He now turns it over to Timmons, who has not pitted in about 50 laps. Curious to see if he's going to run the full fuel run of 70, or if we'll see the drivers head to pit road. Various strategies here tonight. Everyone taking 4 tires and fuel. So curious to see if we'll see anyone try any kind of different fuel. And the 24 right there. Big run right there by Dalton Tucker. That's going to put him back on the lead lap. So he's 1 lap down to the 23. But you get a look at Dylan Parker. Still a little behind. He's about half a lap behind the 24. And once all these shake on out, I would imagine the 24 is back in the lead. Blade Timmons leading 3 laps. He's going to head to pit road. A little bit squirrely. He's going to take an interesting route to pit road. Missing the commitment cone, but lucky there is no commitment cone here in iRacing. And he's going to turn the lead over for the 0-0 of Ryan Kendrick. An amusing moment there, and it could have been trouble. Might have put us under yellow under any other conditions. This 23 just goes absolutely sideways to get on the pit lane, but he does manage it. So good job by that 23 team to get on the pit road and start getting 4 tires and fuel on that car. So Ryan Kendrick on the lead lap. He's got 5 other cars with him on that lead lap. Chad Engel, Dylan Parker, Dalton Tucker, Sean Briscoe, and Trevor Apollo. And it looks like right now, Dylan Parker, once these 2 drivers pit, will be scored your leader. So Dylan Parker might have made the right call. His tire is about 8 laps older than behind him, Dalton Tucker. Dalton Tucker not able to lead every single lap of this race. And he's now going to be under attack. There's Trevor Apollo. There's the 19 of Mike Bruno. Both on fresher tires. Both looking to pass. They might go 3 wide here. There's the 19 and the 90. 2x2 in turns 1 and 2. And they're looking for more in 3 and 4. There's a car down there on the back straightaway. 23 of Blade Timmons. Not quite sure what happened to him. Let's take a quick look at this one. Coming off of turn 2, just gets a little squirrely. Back end kicks out on him into that inside retaining wall. And he's going to have to bring it back down to pit road. We will stay green. Tough break for Timmons in the 23. And you're looking at your race leader, Ryan Kendrick. Everyone's squeezing on by him, getting back onto the lead lap. Now he's going to head to pit road. And Chad Engel going to lead the first lap of his night. See that right on top of your screen. Chad Engel laps led 1. So good to see the 29 team pick up a lap led. And here's going to be your battle once he pits. There's the 74, and back behind him, there's the 24. So 24 going to have to close that gap. It is a 4-second gap right now between second and third. Right now, your leader, Chad Engel. So everyone kind of settling on out. And the Colby Wells in the 45 going to touch Corey Wharton. And that is going to bring out the first natural yellow flag of the night. And Chad Engel might have just lucked on out. And he might be at the front of the pack after this one. Let's take another look at what just happened. It was the 45 and the 20 racing very hard, coming off of turns 4. The 45 drifts up and gets a nose on that number 20 machine. Number 20 going to be justifiably frustrated by this as we take another look from Colby Wells' perspective here. Number 20 jumps into the gap and Wells just gets up into him. Might have not known he was coming. Looked a little harmless from that angle. We'll take one more look at it here from Corey Wharton's point of view. As everyone heading down pit road here, Chad Engel, what a lucky break right there that the caution came out as he was the leader. He's going to get a huge break right here, and this race off of pit road going to be very, very important here. A lot of these cars just took 4 tires and fuel on the last pit stop under green flag conditions. We'll see if that continues. Big jump off by the 74. He takes 4 tires and fuel, but he gets out in front of the 29 of Engel. Good job by Dylan Parker to get off of pit lane first. He's going to inherit the lead, and on his outside is going to be Chad Engel in the 29. So on pit lane is where you can win some races, and Dylan Parker, a good maneuver right there as he goes on pit lane for 41.2 seconds. Chad Engel 42.2. So a whole second faster. And he slides on by the 29 and into the lead, leading his first lap of the night under yellow. And we'll see if that's his last. I'd not be surprised if it is not. So after all that pit strategy and mild chaos, we've completed 168 laps, 45 to go, 5 lead changes. Most of those coming under green flag pit stop conditions. And we are under the yellow for the first time here tonight at Iowa Speedway after the number 20 collided with the 45. A little bit of what appeared to be a racing incident between Colby Wells and Corey Wharton. Both drivers not happy with the other. And what would have been an interesting race of Dalton Tucker trying to play catch up on Dylan Parker has now turned into nothing. Everybody all on the same pit schedule now as well. So throw that strategy out the window. We're back to plan B, and we're back to plan race as fast as you can, as soon as you can. So pace light's going to be out on the pace car, meaning we have 1 to go before we hit the green flag once again. Down the back straightaway. Here we go. 74 of Dylan Parker picks the outside, and that might be a strategy move, keeping the 29 in front of the 24. Definitely keep in mind how picking the outside stacks up that back of the pack. And here we go. Going to be back under green, back in stage 3.
Green flag.
Green flag in the air, and a great jump by the 74. He jumps out to a big lead, and you saw it right there. 24 stacked on up between the 29 and the 19. Bunch of checkup right here as Dalton Tucker has to check on up. All the cars behind him join the fray. Tucker looks to the outside. He wants to get around as fast as possible. 36 looks quick as well. But Mike Bruno, good job by the number 19 team. He slides into second. Continuing to pull away is Dylan Parker up there in 74. Good run for that team here tonight. And in the wall, that could be trouble back behind. As Brian Jones in the 10 got up into the wall, got back into the wall, and able to control that car. Trevor Apollo right back behind in the number $90 General Toyota Supra. He's looking to move his way back up through the field. We've seen him run pretty much fourth all the night long. So he's definitely got the speed to shoot back on up there. And you see it right here. 24 going to go low on the number 19. Dalton Tucker making a big move down to that yellow line. Going to try and slide up in front of the 19. Can't do it on this lap. Is number 19 holding serve there on the outside. 24 drives it in deep. The 19 trying to make a move. And the 36, that's Sean Briscoe. He's trying to poke his nose underneath the 19 as well. Looks like he's going to do it coming off of turn 4. Briscoe holding on that inside line. Not able to do anything about it just yet. With the 24 clear of this traffic. And now he's got Dylan Parker in his sights. See if he can catch on up. Back further in the pack. It's a gaggle of cars. The 29 Chad Engel started this restart second. And he's dropped like a rock. All the way back to 9th and falling. Ryan Kendrick and then 00 back behind him. Colby Wells up there as well. You see all the cars jump to that outside and right back to the bottom. That seems to be what a lot of these drivers starting to prefer early and later on these runs. That gap closing now down to a second between Dylan Parker and Dalton Tucker. You can watch that gap at the top middle of your screen right underneath Dalton Tucker's name. Currently closing the gap. Now it's 8/10. The 24 continuing to move in. First and second pretty much checking on out here. Back behind them, it's a stack up between Mike Bruno, Brian Jones. Haven't called his name a lot tonight. Great to see the number 10 up there. Making his mark on the field. And that's the thing about these long races is keeping the car clean and keeping yourself there at the end. So important here. The number 10 is doing exactly that here tonight. Continuing to ride around the 7/8 mile oval here in Newton, Iowa. We talked about this track being so much like Richmond, but also not at all like Richmond. With that higher banking than Richmond, we're seeing greater speeds. And Dylan Parker continuing to look in his mirror and see Dalton Tucker closing in lap after lap. How long can he hold him off? Will he be able to hold him off until the end? We also talked about that dirty air aspect. The 24 might be able to catch him, but passing him, a whole different story here at Iowa Speedway. Still about 20-30 laps to go here at Iowa, so a lot of time left, but also not a lot of time at all as we're hitting about 25-second lap times. So these drivers knowing that it's go time here at the front of the field, and they have pretty much checked on out. You see the gap right there off the car, the 74. The 24 continuing to close on in. Gap getting smaller and smaller. We've seen Dalton Tucker dominate all race long, and you see the ticker at the upper left corner of your screen. We've switched to the 30 to go and counting. Now 29 to go. And further on back, Colby Wells looking at that bottom side on the 28 of Matthew George. We've seen Wells run the bottom here. He hasn't quite made it work for a whole entire run, but this being a little bit shorter than an entire fuel run might be what the doctor ordered for the 45 machine, and we'll see if he can kind of make that work and pick off a couple more positions. Currently sitting in 11th. He'd definitely like to get into the top 10 before the night is said and over. Trevor Apollo and Brian Jones still mixed it on up. And Brian Jones, we kind of mentioned it way long at the start of the race, that the number 10 machine, we weren't sure if he was kind of holding back. It looks like he was, because he does have the pace of a lot of these front guys. And as soon as we sail the number 10 into the wall, a little bit of damage to that right front fender. And number 90, Trevor Apollo, slips on by. We'll see if Jones can hang on or if that damage is going to prove detrimental to the car. Flashing back toward your leader. It's a two-car battle for first. Dylan Parker, Dalton Tucker duking it out here at Iowa. Giving you a good look at this battle. Tucker continuing to close the gap here. Now on a 2/10, trying to find the way around the 74. Might be setting him on up for a late race pass. We've seen the 24 be very, very quick. Will that pass be too little too late? We will have to wait and see as we go high above Iowa Speedway here. Bringing you some aerial footage of this battle. And the 24 all the way to the bumper of the 74. Can't quite do anything about it just yet. The 74 defending that outside. We have not seen Dalton Tucker move to the bottom just yet. We'll have to wait and see if he kind of changes that up a little bit. Still closing. Now under 2/10. And now it's stretched right back to 2/10 as soon as we say that. Dalton Tucker definitely faster in turns 1 and 2 than he is in 3 and 4. And you know Dylan Parker's got an earful from the crew chief telling him that. Making sure he stays on top of it. The number 22, a little bit of trouble there. You saw Todd Slauson. Let's go back. Had to get on the brakes for the number 10. Stays out of trouble. Slauson does a very good job of staying off right there, but so hard to do when the car in front of you checks up. Has to get out of the throttle because the car is too tight maybe. But Brian Jones had to get off throttle, and the 22 almost ran him over. 19 to go here at Iowa. 19 laps to go, and we head back toward your battle for the lead. Dylan Parker, Dalton Tucker, been 1-2 all night long. They've pulled away more than 3 seconds on any driver that might challenge their tandem duo here tonight. A good look at the battle behind them. So far, Dylan Parker still holding on. And we see it for the first time, really. Dylan Parker heading to that bottom groove. Trying to force Dalton Tucker to use up his tires. But Tucker might be doing the same. Just riding along in second, making the 74 use as much tires as he can to stay out in front. Bunch of strategy here. And as we look further back in the pack, 28 making a good move on Slauson. That's Matthew George in that Haviland Toyota Supra. sliding into 8th place. And the 89 of Drayton Cook, a quiet run for the 89. He's moved up to 7th. He's kind of been floundering in the back of the pack for a lot of the race. He's now moved his way up toward the front of the pack. And the 28 of Matthew George, not content with 7th, or with 8th. He wants 7th here. He's going to dive to the low side of the 89. Back toward your leader, the 24, now half a second back. A little bit of a hiccup by the 24. Now he's got a lot of ground to make up, but 15 still to go. A lot of damage on the front end of the 22 machine. He might have gotten into the number 10 there. Also damage to the rear of the 22. So Todd Slauson riding a damaged car around Iowa Speedway here. Tough break for the 22 team as he carried a lot of speed for a lot of this race. And a little bit of damage going to hurt him late in this run. Now would you look at this? Dylan Parker starting to open it up on the 24 machine of Dalton Tucker. Tucker swept the first 2 stages and now trying to chase down the 74 in stage number 3 and continuing to fall on back with 13 to go. Battle for 3rd here. Trevor Apollo sliding in front of the 19 of Mike Bruno. We mentioned Apollo a couple times earlier. He's looked very solid in that kind of 3rd, 4th, 5th spot. That seemingly first group after these top 2. So number 90 almost kind of falling in where he should, judging from the front half of this race. And the gap continues to open now 0.7 of a second between Parker and Tucker. And it looks like Parker in a very good spot here with 11 to go. Tucker might have used all of his tires on up. We talked about clean versus dirty air, and that definitely plays a role as well. But Dylan Parker making his presence felt here late. He's been number 2 all day long. Had a brilliant pit strategy to pit as early as possible. It was nullified by what turned out to be a 1-car spin for a caution. And now the 74 right back in the lead as he crosses the line with 9 to go. Colby Wells looking to pick up another spot, and Dalton Tucker really wants a caution right here. He wants some of these back guys to mix it on up, maybe get involved in an incident and bring the yellow back out, because he's still losing time now, about 0.8 of a second back. Dylan Parker is not going to get caught at this rate. 8 laps to go here at Iowa, and they tick by fast on that short circuit. So we flash you back to your leader, and you see the gap right there. Ever expanding. Top 5 all single file. Sean Briscoe, your final top 5. And a little bit of smoke right there. So we're going to have to take a look at what just happened. 28 up into the wall. Or the number 10, I'm sorry. Brian Jones gets up into that outside retaining wall. Car looks okay. He's now falling back to 7th and might be 8th and 9th before this one's done. Chad Engel gets a little bit of contact there. These drivers back in the back really mix it on up here. And that's definitely what up there at the front wants to see. Now 1.1 seconds back. Dylan Parker just absolutely pulling away with this one. What a drive. And look at these guys, the 36 and the 19, door to door with 5 to go. Mike Bruno and Sean Briscoe battling for 4th. 19 and 36 just door to door through turns 1 and 2. 36, no chance to slide up in front of the 19. Gets a good run on that outside. Going to try to hold it. And here comes the slide job from the 36. He slides up in front of the 19. Going to hold on to it. And a good run off the corner. 19 going to hold on to that spot. 4 laps to go here. The 74 just pulling away. There's nothing he can do about it except pray for a caution. And this rate does not look like he's going to get it. Dylan Parker holds on, crosses the line. 3 laps to go here at Iowa. Dylan Parker, so far so good in stage number 3 for him. He picked the right restart. He picked the right pit window. He's picked a lot of right things. And oh boy, here we go. 22 up into the wall. Looks like he's going to keep it there. Todd Slauson keeps us green. That could have been disaster for the front 2. Quick peek at what just happened there. The 22 and the 29 just get together as the 29 gets tight in turns 1 and 2. Gets up into the 22's grill. And 2 laps to go here at Iowa. Here comes Dylan Parker to take the white flag here at Iowa. White flag in the air for the final time here tonight, brought to you by the NORA B Series. Dylan Parker trying to complete one more lap. He's got a 1.8 second gap. And he is going to come away, presumably your winner here tonight. Great run by the 74. Holds on, and he will take the checkered flag here at Iowa. Dylan Parker leads 46 laps, and the most important one, the final one, Dylan Parker, your race winner here tonight. What a great run for the 74, and he comes away with a great win as Dalton Tucker looked next to untouchable in laps 1 and 2, and then the 74 came in and slammed the door in stage 3. What a run that was. Top 3 drivers going to take their position on the front straightaway. And what a race we had here tonight, as Dylan Parker comes away late in this one to come away with the win. Leading 46 laps, and what a great run we saw. We talked about saving tires versus not saving tires, and Dylan Parker in the 74 did everything right there in that 3rd stage. And we're going to talk to the number 2 here, Dalton Tucker in the 24. Dalton, talk to us about that 3rd stage. We saw you really dominate those first 2. And then that 3rd stage, Dylan Parker just ended up getting you at the end. Talk about that battle there in that 3rd stage.
Yeah, had arguably the most dominant car all night. 3rd stage, if it went caution free, I think it would have been a walk in the park. Real easy win. Caution came out. Absolutely hated to see that. Literally the worst thing I wanted to see. Stuck me back in 3rd, and I had to pass. I think it was Bruno and Chad. And at that point, I just knew I had to run Dylan down, and I just used up my tires and just didn't have anything for him at the end.
So talk to us about that final restart. What was your game plan knowing that you're kind of in that 2nd row and you got to get by Bruno as quick as possible?
Yeah, I knew I needed to get by Chad and Bruno, and with him on the outside, I knew he'd get a better jump than me. But I don't know if Chad didn't see him leave or what, but Dylan got out to about a 2nd or more head start just from that, and it really set us back a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, like you talked about, one of the most dominant cars here tonight. Anyone you want to give a quick shout out to for that car before we send you on your way?
I got to give a shout out to Over for him putting this league together, and racing's always good. Car counts are kind of low right now, but that's kind of expected for summer months. So maybe they'll pick back up. And appreciate Jake Boyer for painting this car for me. I absolutely love how it looks, and just appreciate you doing the broadcast for us. I think you do a real great job.
Well, much appreciated, and it was great to watch you drive, especially in those first two stages, and then almost reeling in Dylan Parker there for the win. But Dalton Tucker, congrats again on that second place finish, and we're going to talk to you again soon.
All right, thanks, man.
So that was the number 24 of Dalton Tucker, your second place finisher. And now let's get the race winner in here, Dylan Parker. So Dylan, this is Jared up in the booth. First of all, congrats on the win. How did that one feel?
That one felt really nice to win.
Absolutely. So stage 3, we saw you be the first car on pit road. What was your strategy? Was it pit as soon as you could, or talk us through that?
Well, team had a strategy to split the run up into 3, and I was just lucky enough to have that caution drop when I was in second. I was able to beat Chad off pit road and get the Asheville Rooftop Bar Tours car into victory lane.
Absolutely. So take us through that final restart. What goes through your mind when you select that outside line?
Well, in all honesty, it was to kind of screw over Tucker because I saw that the 20 car had some damage, and I was going to put him in front of Dalton to try and slow him up on a restart a little bit, trying to get him into traffic and slow him down a little bit. So definitely helped me out on that little long run to keep him behind me.
Absolutely, and really paid off for you there in that third run. So last question for you tonight. We saw Tucker start to kind of reel you on in. Were you kind of just saving tires at that point and then hit the gas pedal? Because we saw you open it up to 2 seconds there at the finish.
Oh, yeah. I was going to let him I was just going to save my tires, not pay attention to him, let him try to get up to my inside and let him run his tires off, and then me just be consistent. And eventually I knew he'd fall off, and it looks like he did because clean air was very important.
Absolutely, and we saw that all night long. So Dylan Parker, your race winner. Anyone you want to thank before we send you on to victory lane?
Just like to thank Chris Lewis, TI Racing, and Asheville Rooftop Bar.
Awesome. Well, congrats again on the win, and we're going to talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
So that was Dylan Parker, your race winner here tonight, and a great run by him, and you heard it there from the mouth of Babes. Just made it work and let the 24 kind of reel himself back in, make the 24 work, and you heard him mention clean air right there. And we talked about that a couple times throughout the broadcast, and good to hear that the drivers were also experiencing that as well. And now let's bring in your third place finisher, Trevor Apollo. Trevor, first of all, congrats on that third place finish. Talk to us a little bit about those long runs in stage 1 and 2, how the car behaved throughout those ones.
Thank you. You know, it was getting more fun to drive. The stage end at 53 and I think 106. It was just long enough to start getting interesting, but not long enough runs to really do much with the tires you saved. That last run was setting up to be okay until I went into pits during the green flag pit stops and almost hit those barrels. But before that, I was thinking that long run on the final stage was going to be pretty good. But of course, we got a couple cautions in there, so it never really happened.
Absolutely. So take us through those kind of green flag pit stops. What was your mindset in at what time you determined to pit, and then kind of how you started to pick through the field after that?
Well, my plan was to split. I mean, there was tire fall off, but it wasn't anything crazy. So my plan was just to split that run. And then some of the guys started coming in a little earlier than that, and that kind of pushed me to come in just a couple laps earlier than I was originally going to. And yeah, like I said, I almost hit the barrels and then slid through my box. I had a pit box right around that corner. It was so hard to see where your lollipop man was standing. And I kind of overshot it a little bit, had to back up. I think I restarted that last run 7th and just had to race hard to get back up to 3rd. I'm sweating.
Absolutely. Well, it was a great last run to watch you kind of pick through a bunch of guys and come away with 3rd place finish. Anyone you want to give a quick shout out to before we send you on your way?
Yeah, first of all, congratulations to Dylan. Beating Dalton is quite a accomplishment. He's good every week in everything we run. So kudos to him. Thanks to my team, Bruce, Alex, Blade, whose night ended a little short tonight. Thanks to Dollar General for being on the car. All the admins and you for broadcasting. Appreciate it.
All right, absolutely. Well, congrats again on that third place finish, and we're going to talk to you again soon.
Thanks. Have a good one, man. Great job on your broadcast.
All right, thanks again. So Trevor Apollo, the number 90 machine, coming away third, and that is rounding out your top three. So let's get a look at your final results of the Iowa 213 and the NORA B Series. Dylan Parker comes away your victor here tonight, holding off Dalton Tucker, who finishes second. Trevor Apollo, you just heard from him. He finished third. Sean Briscoe in fourth. Mike Bruno in fifth. Matthew George finishes sixth. Ryan Kendrick in seventh. Brian Jones, we saw him hit the wall a couple times and still hold on in that number 10 position. He finishes 8th, or that number 10 car, my apologies. He finishes 8th. Drayton Cook comes away 9th, and Colby Wells, saw him kind of up and down all night long. He finishes 10th. In number 11th is Chad Engel in that 29. We saw him restart that last restart. He ended up on a very good caution in terms of just benefit for the 29 team. Restarts in second position on that inside groove. And just a tough break for the 29, not able to kind of hold on and gets shuffled on back to 11th. Todd Slauson comes away 12th. Corey Wharton in 13th. Craig Schroeder in 14th. And Blade Timmons, we heard him mention, his night ending a little bit early. He finishes 15th. And rounding out your field, Brian Niels finishes 16th, 153 laps down. So that's going to do it for your race here tonight. It was a pleasure bringing this one to you, and I hope you guys enjoyed that one as much as I did. A little bit of thrills in that third stage, and definitely something to look forward to in the coming weeks. The battle between Parker and Tucker, as two seriously talented drivers ran away with it here at Iowa Speedway. So next week, same time, same place. You can check us out here on YouTube. Share with your friends, family, and whoever else may be interested in this. They can come race the league. They can come check out the broadcast, whatever floats their boat. Next week, we had to Chicagoland, and then after that, Pocono, and then Indianapolis Motor Speedway over the next 3 weeks on these Wednesday nights here for the NORA B Series. So for one last time, I'm going to be signing off. My name's Jarrett, and I appreciate every one of you that came into the chat, came in and just watched for any amount of time, or you're watching this back later after the fact. You guys make it all worth it, and I would definitely need to thank all of you. So thank you all so much. Thank you all for checking out the NORA B Series here on J Deadlift Broadcasting. Like we said, next week we head to Chicagoland, so stay tuned for that. Should be some great pack racing in that one. So that's going to do it from here in Newton, Iowa. As always, stay safe and stay great.